What is going on, guys? Welcome back. Commentary for you. I know a lot of you are looking forward to the free copy of Access Football that will release sometime in the middle of next week. But I wanted to talk about this forum post that Austin had sent over to me. It's about 4 years old, but really interesting in the context of DDA, specifically since Rex Dixon had just talked about it not being in the game or him never seeing that code. So this post starts with, I think, a place we've all been, noticing that Madden becomes unstoppable at certain points of a game. And this gentleman went in and kind of figured out how. He's been testing it on Madden 08 with the PC, and every play has a PLYT, or what he refers to as a play tag. And he goes back and he says they're present in Madden 04, 08, 9, 12, etc., PS2, 360, PC, even the PSP. And what they do is help segment plays out, whether it's a dive, a toss, an end around, a quarterback sneak. And what they'll do is help the computer assign a defensive coverage or a defensive play. The AI tags them to determine what would be a counter. Not only that, they actively use them to defend against your plays. So this is where some of the AI logic comes from. And he finds this out through editing a playbook. And he went through and made some changes. And you could see that the computer did not know how to react to these plays, and basically came to the conclusion that since the play tags were not the same, the game was handling plays differently and inherently broke the game. Now, the reason this is such a big deal, we all know that the defensive AI has to do something in terms of selecting a play. But what, as sim gamers, we expect is that to be set around a number of things: down and distance, time in the game, score of the game, scenario being played out. And rather what you're seeing is a defense that is simply reacting to the play being called and running a counter to stop it. Now, I realize a lot of people would say, well, that's a good plan to have. If you have a offensive call of play and you call a counter designed to stop that play, then in any scenario, that should be successful. That is what you would want. But the problem with this becomes, if that is how you're going to construe every single playbook, then you don't have defenses that play inherently different from each other. You're not going to have a defense that constantly blitzes. You're not going to have a defense that focuses on zone coverage. You're not going to have red zone coverage that differs from the 20-yard line coverage. Does that sound familiar to you? We've all been there, right? We've all asked these questions. Why is the defense playing this way? The defense is essentially playing that way based on what you are doing as a user. And this is such a simplistic approach. It's such a stripped down version of playing football. And to me, when I read this, it absolutely just hit a chord. This is why all the games feel the same. This is why all the players feel the same. You don't have a defense playing differently against Aaron Rodgers as they would Teddy Bridgewater. You don't have a defense approaching a running back like Todd Gurley the same way they would approach a third-string running back that just came up off the bench. You have a whole part of a game, the defensive mechanic, reacting in writing what would seem to be good, but in logic considered to be horrible. And this year, it's ironic that they talk about bringing in some type of defender memory system for the pump and the play action. Well, if you have such a elementary version of running a defense, I don't know how well that's going to react. In fact, Rex Dixon had stated several times he did not want a memory system put into the game because he thought it could be overpowered, he thought it could be misused, and he thought it would be exploitable. But the other side of that is you can't have defender logic specific if you don't have defensive logic specific. How can you rely on a defensive player like a safety to remember play actions and react to them independently and separately than other players on the field if the entire defense is only reacting on a counter of what the offense runs? I know that seems really dense, but that's impossible to do. You'd literally have one player or two players perhaps freelancing the entire time. So I know a lot of people will look at this and say that's not accurate. But I did look into the testing that he did with this, and I have my own gameplay experiences where I firmly believe this is, as he states it, the elephant in the room. This is part of what has been and is wrong with Madden. And it goes back to code that we can date specifically 10 years past where we are now. Generations of consoles past where we are now. Love to know what you guys think about this. Appreciate you checking it out. You know I will be back in the week with more commentary.